EVs can be especially dangerous when they catch fire. And when they're fully charged, that's when they're the most dangerous.
The most famous examples of battery electric vehicle fires have been with the Bolt and various Tesla vehicles.
A Model S Plaid burst into flames earlier this week while the owner was driving it.
In this video, I'll be analysing what looks like another anti-electric vehicle, anti-Tesla hit piece from the increasingly irrelevant mainstream media. I'll watch the video through first, and then I'll react and share my analysis. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, there's a bunch of ways you can support the channel, access exclusive content and perks, and get some free stocks and crypto. Check out the links in the pinned comment below. You can get 2 free stocks with WeBull, a free stock with Stake, free Bitcoin with Coinbase, and free Bitcoin with BlockFi, and the BlockFi Bitcoin Rewards credit card. You can also pick up some Tesla, Elon, and investment themed merch in the merch store. If you want to take it to the next level, join thousands of members on Patreon to gain exclusive access to over 100 Q&A videos, loads of exclusive content, exclusive access to my up-to-date 10-year Tesla stock price targets, and even access my Tesla valuation model at the investor support level and above. So check out the links in the pinned comment below, and thanks for your support.
With the future of automobiles undeniably electric, the transition is bringing with it some challenges. While they provide a path towards reduced emissions, EVs can be especially dangerous when they catch fire.
There have been some really high-profile fires at homes in the United States, parking structures in Europe and in China.
If that vehicle's in your garage and it's charging and this problem occurs, we'll likely take the car and the garage and potentially the home.
Car fires are nothing new. In 2020 alone, there were 173,000 highway vehicle fires, resulting in 580 fatalities, 1,500 injuries, and $1.6 billion in property damage in the US. But when an EV catches on fire, it's a different story. Lithium-ion batteries are extremely volatile and incredibly challenging to put out.
These fires burn hotter, they burn longer, they take more water.
It burned very hot, that it melted the roadway underneath it. There was really nothing even left of the shell of the vehicle.
And little education is out there to help firefighters.
We're still trying to catch up with all this stuff, but it changes almost every day.
The industry has rocket launched radically ahead of the preparatory pieces.
A lot of the time, firefighters, fire agencies are just expected to kind of figure it out.
On top of the challenges for firefighters, car makers like GM, Ford, and Hyundai have had to do massive recalls, so the problem is costly. CNBC explores how automakers and firefighters are going to deal with EV's fire problem. Over the years, lithium-ion batteries have seen significant improvements in energy density, and while this has enabled more powerful batteries, it made them more vulnerable.
You had to do lots of things to optimize it. One of them was to reduce the space between the two electrodes. But as you get closer and closer to each other, the chances of a short increases.
A key ingredient in batteries is liquid organic electrolyte, but it is also one of the most flammable.
Liquid electrolyte, like gasoline, is a flammable liquid, and it could get into what's called a thermal runaway situation, where it just started, sort of boiling the liquid, and it results in a fire.
Today's batteries are very safe, and for large ones, such as those in EVs, cells are meticulously controlled through a battery management system.
It has to maintain the right operating temperature for the battery. Then within that operating temperature range, the other aspect of it is how fast does it charge or discharge.
But there are rare instances where defects or damage cause issues.
We don't know the exact frequency of failure for lithium-ion cells. We assume it's somewhere between 1 in 10 million and 1 in 40 million.
Battery electric vehicle fires can happen due to defects in the actual battery cells or in the pack architecture. The battery pack design matters, and so does the quality of manufacturing.
And when they're fully charged, that's when they're the most dangerous.
Think of it as a fuel tank. If you have a fuel tank and a standard combustion engine and it's completely full and you develop a fire, you have a lot of fuel load, you're gonna have a long burning fire. It's the exact same concept with batteries.
The battery problem is unique to electric vehicles, but non-crash fire risk is not unique to electric vehicles.
Car fires are unfortunately nothing new. Internal combustion engine vehicles continue to have issues. Vehicle fires accounted for 16% of the 1.3 million fires reported to U.S. fire departments. Most of these are caused by mechanical or electrical failures and malfunctions. But non-crash fires, those that occur when a vehicle is idle or not in use, are extremely uncommon overall.
There's only about one claim for every 10,000 insured vehicles, so it's a pretty rare event.
Experts are still trying to determine non-crash EV fire incident rates.
The data that we've looked at so far doesn't indicate that there is an outsized risk of non-crash fire for electric-powered vehicles. We need a lot of them, and we need a lot of old ones in order to be able to say anything with confidence.
The most famous examples of battery electric vehicle fires have been with the Bolt and various Tesla vehicles.
A Model S Plaid burst into flames earlier this week while the owner was driving it. According to the Lower Merion Fire Department in Pennsylvania, copious amounts of water were poured on the vehicle for over 2 hours in order to extinguish the fire and render the scene safe.
Chas McGarvey's department responded to the Pennsylvania Tesla fire.
We actually had to lay a supply line, a street line, to feed our engines, and we had 2 3/4 going, trying to extinguish this fire. And it doesn't go out right away, you know. It definitely burns a lot hotter and a lot quicker.
For most fire departments, they are confronting EV fires for the first time. EV fires require different tactics to effectively fight them.
Gas, you put water on top of the engine or the interior plastics. With an electric vehicle, you have the interior plastics, so you put water on top, but you're also looking for water to be able to cool the bottom of the battery. You have to get it under about 260 degrees Fahrenheit.
The big problem is the accessibility of the batteries, the cells inside the battery, because they're usually held within a steel case and they form the chassis of the car, which is largely inaccessible.
A number of European cities have adopted a strategy of simply dunking the car in water.
These battery pack chemical fires can emit dangerous smoke and gases.
It releases 2 contents in the smoke that we have to be aware of. One is flammable. The other is toxic.
Of the incidents we researched, just under 90% the gases that were venting from the traction battery ignited, and in about 10% of cases, the vapors coming from the traction battery actually exploded.
And the battery packs can reignite up to several days later.
All it takes is for a little bit of metal in that battery to short circuit.
In some instances, the fires have spread to other vehicles. EVs are particularly vulnerable when charging and in close proximity to one another.
In China, they lost 55 buses in one amusement park's parking lot because they were all electric, they were on chargers. One caught fire and a daisy chained across the rest of the parking lot.
One of the biggest issues is educating firefighters.
Not all the manufacturers have up-to-date and current quick reference guides for their vehicles. The guides are very good at being kind of an all-inclusive representation of the vehicle. The challenges occur when things happen to the vehicle that are outside of the design specifications.
Training for firefighters is limited and not widely accessible.
The educational campaigns for the fire service, the resource capabilities for the fire service, and then the funding for the education and the resource capabilities, none of that's intact yet.
And with an ever-changing environment, it is hard to keep up with the latest EVs and technologies.
There is not really stringent federal regulatory components in place right now regarding the batteries placed in EVs. Every single vehicle is different, even within a manufacturer.
We've got this whole kind of supply chain of people that, you know, are potentially at risk until that vehicle is broken up and scrapped.
Whether you are a legacy automaker getting into battery electrics, or you're a startup making battery electric vehicles and new types of them, it's going to be expensive.
Automakers are already struggling with scaling EV production. Potential recalls could pose major issues. In August 2021, GM recalled its Bolt electric vehicle, the result of issues with battery maker LG Chem's pouch cells.
They did a recall of 61,000 Chevy Bolts. They have now expanded that recall to fix 2 potential defects in the battery packs. Those potential defects will impact 73,000 additional vehicles. The additional cost of this recall, $1 billion.
GM recalled all of them. They didn't want to take the risk that any driver could experience a battery fire. However, this problem is by no means limited to the Bolt. BMW, Ford, Hyundai, Mitsubishi, and of course Tesla, they have all issued fire-related recalls.
Within the last year, General Motors, Hyundai, and Ford have recalled around 132,500 electric vehicles, costing a combined $2.2 billion. Tesla has tried to minimize battery-related recalls, instead pushing software updates. However, this led to a lawsuit for throttling the range and charging capacity of some batteries.
In the United States, that settled out, and they got sued for that also in Norway. Automakers are starting to explore different battery chemistries and approaches that could reduce fire risk and improve the life of these batteries.
Tesla recently announced it is switching more of its vehicles to LFP batteries, lithium iron phosphate.
They are generally believed to be a lot safer in terms of abuse resulting in thermal runaway.
It does not go to as high of a voltage, so it tends not to have as high of an energy density as the other batteries. But at the same point, because it doesn't go to as high of a voltage, it's less likely to have that safety issue.
On the other hand, we know of battery energy storage systems, two at least, that involved LFP batteries that in fact exploded.
Researchers are working on technologies that could reduce or completely eliminate the fire hazard.
My group, we invent a water in salt electrolysis, and you can make the battery a little bit more safe, but they sacrifice energy density.
There's also a lot of hope around new solid-state battery development, but those are unproven technologies so far.
Every automotive company who's doing electric vehicles has a play in the solid-state battery, and they either are developing them themselves or they're investing in companies that are making solid-state batteries. That issue we had with safety of flammable liquid is completely removed, but also at the same time results in batteries which can have much higher energy density and also can have much longer cycle life.
But it will take time before solid-state batteries replace lithium-ion in EVs.
2026, people are talking about it, 2028, sort of in that time frame, you will start seeing solid-state batteries in electric vehicles.
Until then, much has to change to accommodate the new wave of electric vehicles.
We're just starting to scratch the surface of how much infrastructure, networking, and support needs to be in place.
The new infrastructure bill is all about electric vehicles, battery systems, and the electric future. What we need is in that bill to reflect the need for training.
And it is important for the public to be aware of the risks.
We're going to have to figure out how to deal with this. And most of that responsibility falls on automakers and battery producers. But some of it falls on consumers. You know, the drivers have to follow the recommended usage.
We've had a long time to fully understand the risks and hazards associated with petrol and diesel cars. We're going to have to learn faster how to deal with the challenges with electric vehicles, but we will.
First things first, let's start with the title and thumbnail as they appear on YouTube. The title, Why Tesla? Obviously, you've got to use Tesla at the beginning, you've got to get those eyeballs. Why Tesla, GM, and other EV companies have a fire problem. The thumbnail with the text here, why EVs have a fire problem. So before we get any further into this, what is a problem? No, seriously, problem. A matter or situation regarded as unwelcome or harmful and needing to be dealt with and overcome. So it seems here, inherent in the definition of what a problem is, it's a situation that's so bad or harmful that you need to do something about it. Given that the title and thumbnail of this video refer to an EV fire problem, one would get the impression that this is an issue, a dangerous problem that needs to be dealt with, much more significant than the potential risk of fires in non-electric vehicles. Would that be fair to say? Otherwise, I would assume that CNBS would be running pieces about the ICE vehicle fire problem. But hey, it's YouTube, CNBS, clickbait, they need the views, I get it, whatever. Let's actually analyze the content of the video. The video begins with a lot of fear porn, emphasizing that EVs have a uniquely dangerous risk in terms of fires, whether or not they're referring to the potential for a fire to occur, or the actual fire itself. Spoiler alert, it's the latter, isn't made clear. I think this is quite a deceptive thing for CNBS to do. I think it is intentional here. You want to scare people, you want to cause fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Gets clicks, brings advertising revenue because of the eyeballs, I totally understand. but it doesn't appear to be a very fair representation of what's going on here. Scare the shit out of people initially about EV fires, sprinkle a few scary statistics about vehicle fires, not EV fires, because we don't really have much information there. A lot of people in their mind will probably conflate the two as being the same thing. There is absolutely no mention of relative risks for electric vehicle fires versus internal combustion engine vehicle fires, and this is where I really take issue with this entire piece. Given the complete and utter lack of facts, information and statistics relating to EV fires, you know, the thing in the thumbnail and the title of the video, I thought I would present some actual data relating to electric vehicle fires, in particular the company whose name was shamelessly used to get more clicks. We are of course talking about Tesla, who voluntarily published safety data not only on collisions but also fires. Vehicle fire data, the latest available from 2020. From 2012 to 2020, there has been approximately one Tesla vehicle fire for every 205 million miles traveled. Sounds like a lot of miles, just saying. By comparison, data from the National Fire Protection Association and US Department of Transportation shows that in the United States, there is a vehicle fire for every 19 million miles traveled. Curious. We'll come back to this in just a moment, but it seems on the surface, an internal combustion engine vehicle, which is most of the data, not all of them, but most, we're just talking in broad terms here, is about 10 times more likely to suffer a vehicle fire than a Tesla. 10 times more likely. But of course, there's an EV fire problem, isn't there, CNBS? But let's read on. In order to provide an apt comparison to NFPA data, Tesla's data set includes instances of vehicle fires caused by structure fires, aka something near the Tesla catches on fire. It's got nothing to do with the battery, arson, and other things unrelated to the vehicle, which account for some of the Tesla vehicle fires over this period of time. So Tesla's just trying to do an apples to apples comparison, so they're using the same data that NFPA use, just so it's a fair comparison, keeping in mind that some of the Tesla vehicle fires that they're talking about occurring every 205 million miles aren't the vehicle crashing and the battery catching on fire, etc. Some of those are due to arson, the car being near something else that caught on fire, and the fire spreading, so on and so on. Why do you think it is that there was no mention whatsoever of the data that Tesla voluntarily publishes on their own website relating to fires in Tesla vehicles? Why do you think that wasn't even mentioned? Especially given the fact that many of the experts commenting were saying, well, EVs are new, we don't really have enough data. Why did CNBS not include this useful piece of information? I think it would be a fair part of the conversation, don't you? Seems a little bit strange to me, unless of course there's an agenda to tarnish Tesla and or electric vehicles. In this segment we also hear that GM, Ford and Hyundai have had massive vehicle recalls relating to fires. Of course, Tesla hasn't. In fact, they've done a tiny little over-the-air update. I'm not aware of any physical recalls for fire risk on any Tesla vehicles ever. I could be wrong, please let me know in the comments. So these three companies have massive, CNBS's words, not mine, massive vehicle recalls. Yet the very first name in the title, Tesla. Is that fair or reasonable? Could this give people the false impression that Tesla in particular has battery fire problems specifically relating to electric vehicles? Is that possible? What do you guys think? Let me know below. Something else that didn't sit right with me was the discussion about there's been a number of famous electric vehicle battery fires, whatever the words were, and a number of Tesla fires, and then it cuts to some FUD on CNBS about a vehicle. Let me quote exactly what was said. A Model S burst into flames earlier this week while the driver was driving it. I recall this CNBS segment sounded a little bit concerning, right? You're just driving along and your car explodes, catches fire. I mean, that's pretty fucked up, right? But there was no additional context whatsoever. If anyone has any updates on this, please let me know. But the probability of your Tesla spontaneously combusting is very close to zero. And that's not the way the CNBS hit piece was presented though. Spreads throughout the media, people freak out, short sellers start furiously fapping, everyone's excited, but there were no more details released at the time. I haven't followed up on this story. Here's the question. Did this vehicle literally spontaneously combust? Or is it possible that the battery pack was damaged? I don't know, maybe the driver crashed. Maybe they drove over something at high speed that punctured the pack. Maybe they were going 130 miles an hour in a 20 zone, went over a speed bump and crushed the bottom of the battery pack. I don't know, but that's a likely circumstance that could possibly cause the pack to catch fire. Of course, CNBS don't have anything to say about that. They don't even mention the possibility or the probability because that's the likely explanation. Now, to be fair, many of the experts interviewed in this piece said reasonable and valid things. They made fair points. But the way that CNBS have stitched this piece together gives people a very clear impression that EV fires are a major problem. They're risky. You can be driving your Tesla, it'll just catch fire out of nowhere. CNBS were happy to present the data about vehicle fires without explicitly mentioning that this was different from EV fires, just in case people get confused. But CNBS were unwilling to show any data whatsoever relating to EV specific fires and their causes. And this causes me concern. Hypothetically speaking, since we don't have any actual data to prove this, if Tesla vehicles are about 10 times less likely to catch fire than an internal combustion engine vehicle on average in the United States, you'd almost get the impression that ICE vehicles have a fire problem, about 10 times worse than that of electric vehicles. Now, I don't want to get too conspiratorial on everybody watching, but I will leave you guys and girls with a quote. Something a mentor once said to me. We were discussing a company, their behavior, potential incentives, and why they were acting in a certain way. Things didn't quite seem to add up. It appeared there was a little bit of bias. It didn't quite seem right, fair, or just. My mentor asked me a question. Well, Stephen, who butters their bread? What he was referring to here is who's paying their bills. Allow me to make the connection. Automotive companies spend quite a bit of money advertising on, you guessed it, CNBS. These electric vehicles that are likely to put most of these legacy automotive companies out of business may potentially be seen as a threat. Of course, I'm not suggesting collusion or corruption or anything there at all. I just wanted to point out this completely unrelated fact. I'm very curious to hear what you guys and girls think. Let me know in the comments below. Do you think that this piece from CNBS is fair, objective, and unbiased? Is it possible this could give people the impression that EVs are more likely to catch fire than ICE vehicles? And finally, don't forget to join Patreon with the card in the corner or the link in the pinned comment to gain access to over 100 exclusive Q&A videos, my Tesla stock price targets, and loads of other content and perks as well. I'll see you over there. I'm Stephen Mark Ryan. This is Solving the Money Problem, and I love you all. Hey guys, thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, there's a bunch of ways you can support the channel, access exclusive content and perks, and get some free stocks and crypto. Check out the links in the pinned comment below. You can get 2 free stocks with WeBull, a free stock with Stake, free Bitcoin with Coinbase, and free Bitcoin with BlockFi, and the BlockFi Bitcoin Rewards credit card. You can also pick up some Tesla, Elon, and investment themed merch in the merch store. If you want to take it to the next level, join thousands of members on Patreon to gain exclusive access to over 100 Q&A videos, loads of exclusive content, exclusive access to my up-to-date 10-year Tesla stock price targets, and even access my Tesla valuation model at the investor support level and above. So check out the links in the pinned comment below, and thanks for your support. And if you're still watching, you're awesome. I read every single comment on this channel, and I really appreciate your feedback. So if you've got any thoughts on today's video, questions, comments, or suggestions for a new video, let me know in the comments below. Check the cards on screen now to browse the merch store, join Patreon, or watch the next video.